New York Giants on paper are honestly a very talented team. I think there is really two areas of need that they really need to address in this. In fact, I wouldn't have a problem if their entire draft was just filling offensive line and edge. Like, that would be okay with me. That would fill the exact needs. But I think there's a lot of other areas that this team could look to improve on as we hit into the 2022 NFL season. And specifically, I think Joe Sean, however you say his name, and Brian Daboll, I think they're going to have the work cut out for them. But again, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock into quarterback. I think Brian Daboll could really develop Jones. I really do. I think if you take a look at Daniel Jones, he's got everything you want in terms of intangibles. 6'5", got a good arm. He's a good athlete. I honestly think that the offensive line just kind of stunted his growth, like the lack thereof. Everybody outside of Andrew Thomas, obviously, but I feel like he's a very respectable quarterback, and I think if you can get him a top 5 offensive line, or even in the middle of the pack, man, oh man, this would be a scary team. Like, just without the most of it. Obviously, you got to address edge too, which we'll get into a second. But as it pertains to the Giants' top 5 draft needs, I think there's only a couple of areas they need to focus on. Other than that, there's a couple of areas they can improve on. But let's jump right into it. Giants draft need number 1 for me. Offensive line. Everybody outside of Andrew Thomas should have competition, if not be completely replaced. And don't get me wrong, I love guys like that brought in like Billy Price. I love a guy like Nate Soldier, even though he's old now and he's not the player he once was. He was a great player for the Patriots back in the day, but those days are over. They need to bring in competition. They need to bring in new guys, fresh blood. Will Hernandez at right guard. He was good his rookie season, and then after that, I don't know. And then at Nick Gates, I think he was placed in the IR. And Matt Skura, everybody outside of Andrew Thomas needs to either go or have competition right behind them, because this offensive line needs to improve. I don't care. Do whatever you have to do. Throw free agents, everything. This and edge, those two things should be. I kind of ruined my number 2 draft need, but everything should be thrown into those two. I wouldn't care if this entire draft class was offensive line. And obviously we've seen guys like Iquanu, or I can't even say the guy's name, but there's been a lot of offensive tackles that have been mock drafted to the Giants with their first pick, and I can see it. I can absolutely see it. So I think that's their biggest need moving forward. You have to really address the offensive line to be able to help out guys like Daniel Jones, to help out Saquon Barkley, who I think if he can get a little bit of help on that offensive line, I think it would actually help him stay healthy. And obviously he needs to stay healthy, and I think this is the first start into that. Again, if you replace, like, let's take my Vikings, for example, who have kind of a middle-of-the-pack-ish offensive line. If you give them the Vikings offensive line, I feel like the Giants would at least be second place, or would have challenged the Eagles for a playoff spot, because there's offensive line and edge. That's really it. That's the only thing I think that the Giants really need to work on and really need to target this offseason. Giants draft need number 2. We already said it. Edge, defensive end. Now, don't get me wrong. Azeez Ojulari, again, I know that's not how you say his name. And plus, I feel like, Lorenzo Carter was very respectable. Quincy Roche, I loved what I saw out of him. But overall, I just felt like edge, like George Karlaftis, if he falls to you at 7 or even at 5 or whatever you have, I think you take that. I think you take that every day. The Greek freak of football, as they're calling him. My wife will tell you that the Greeks are the best at everything, but I will say that I think Karlaftis is he's a freak. He's got the length, the size, the speed that you want. I think he would look great opposite Azeez Ojulari. That's a tongue twister. Try saying that 10 times really fast. But I think, if you were to bring Karlaftis in here with Azeez, I think this could be something special. I think that could really solve the need right away. Now, again, that doesn't stop you from drafting offensive line and edge for the rest of this draft class, but I think it's a good start. It's absolutely great start, and I think that's where the Giants, those are the 2 main areas the Giants really need to focus on as they move forward. Giants draft need number 3. I might get some flack for this one. Wide receiver. Listen, I know the Giants are talented at wide receiver. They are very talented. Got guys like Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton. Drop some balls. You would like to see him kind of hang on to those. John Ross is still respectable. You got Dante Pettis. Kadarius Toney is one of the best young wide receivers. What I'm saying is, outside of, if they were to get a 7th round wide receiver that they could, or like a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round wide receiver that they could get, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like, they have, outside of Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard, I feel like this team and Kenny Golladay, He didn't underperform, but he also, I don't think he had quite the impact that Giants fans were hoping for, and including myself. Like, I thought he was going to have a bigger impact, but, Darius Slayton, I don't know. I just feel like this entire wide receiver room has underperformed. Like, you have a lot of talent. Like, we just named it. Like, Kadarius Toney should get 10 targets a game. But overall, I feel like the Giants really need to take a serious look at their wide receiver room and plan for the future, because outside of Kadarius Toney and, obviously guys like Kenny Galladay, I don't know, maybe Sterling Shepard sticks around for a while. My point is they need to really take a serious look at the future here. And I think Kadarius Toney is a good starting piece, but opposite him, you got questions for the long term at least. So I think wide receiver is the next biggest need there, and I think they need to take a serious look at what their future weapons are going to be for Daniel Jones or for quarterback, whoever it may be. Jake Fromm from State Farm. I had to make one joke about it, but Giants draft need number 4, inside linebacker. I think, don't get me wrong, I have loved Blake Martinez and what he brings to a football team. Can be a little bit of a liability in pass coverage at times. Tate Crowder is also respectable. Benedark McKinney is also respectable. I think Reggie Ragland, I was expecting him once Martinez went down. I was really expecting Ragland to almost kind of come through. And even guys like Jalen Smith, I don't know. I just feel like this position isn't like a huge need, but if they were to upgrade it in the later rounds to maybe like a sleeper, which will come out with a couple we have moving forward, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like, you could have, I feel like this is one of the weaker spots on the defense. Obviously you got playmakers at corner and safety. I love James Bradbury. Xavier McKinney is amazing. Logan Ryan and Adoree Jackson, I love both of them. And I think defensive line wise, not including edge, I think I love Dexter Lawrence. Leonard Williams is still a stud. You got good backups in Danny Shelton, or a good backup in Danny Shelton, excuse me. So I think it would really help you to get a linebacker that is an all-around football player that can fly sideline to sideline and also play respectable, at least in pass coverage. I think it would really help out the team to be able to do a lot more defensively. And we'll see what they do moving forward in terms of defensive schematics and everything. But this team's talented. I think that in the inside linebacker, it's not the biggest need, but I wouldn't hate them upgrading it either. I think you could definitely make a case for it. And then finally, the Giants draft need number 5, I think, is quarterback. Now, I might get some flack for this one too, but again, look at this roster online. Like, just look at it. Quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, and Daniel Jones, again, I've made excuses for the man. Hasn't had a lot of help these last couple of seasons in terms of offensive line play. Coaching, I think, has been just not quite there. I think Brian Daboll is going to really alleviate a lot of those concerns, but I just feel like they really need to put a lot into a guy like Daniel Jones. Like, he was their number 1 pick for a reason. They see a lot in him, and they haven't given up on him yet. I haven't either, by the way. I think Brian Daboll, especially with what he did with Josh Allen, I think this could be really interesting to see. Maybe Daniel Jones can revive his career a little bit, especially with a quality offensive line, a wide receiver core that is actually performing to what it should be, and a defense that is vastly improved in terms of edge presence. I think, again, if you can just continually get your offense on the field and keep your defense off it, good things tend to happen. And I think if you're a guy like, if you want to bring in the most competition or at least put a little fire under Jones, I wouldn't hate it. I really wouldn't hate it. Also, I think, and people are going to say, well, they already have Jake Fromm from what was it, out of Georgia? I don't care. Listen, Daboll and Shan, whatever, did not draft Daniel Jones. So they have no skin in keeping him. Like, they could get rid of him. They really could. But I think it would be in their best interest to see what they have in him, to see what quality coaching and possibly getting a better offensive line could do for him. Because I still think he's a good quarterback, and I still think he deserves a lot of credit. So I think that is a good place to stop, because I feel like they, other than that, they don't really have a ton of draft needs. Like, they have holes, but not as many as a lot of other teams. So I think they're a very talented team. If they can get some O-line and edge presence, oh boy, watch out for this team. And I think moving forward, they're going to be a tough team if they can address those 2 areas, because the rest of this roster looks pretty good. It really does. But let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are all truthfully awesome. We love every single one of you. In the description down below, you'll find all of our social media platforms, so give us a like and a follow there. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about our New York Giants top 5 draft needs.